welcome back, listeners and viewers. We're here with another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. Today's guest is the founder of a digital agency that elevates brands by connecting with their audience across multiple digital channels. Then there's a lot more that goes into that. So this guy, there's layers to this guy. So let's dig in and help me share the journey of my friend, Joe Beard. Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so pumped to have you on the show.
Man, thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
And I love you've got legit equipment. So anybody that's watching this on YouTube, like you've got the whole setup. Are you a podcaster?
We are not. I'm actually sitting in our studio. So
Sweet.
video is a lot of what we do. And so we've
Yeah,
got a studio here in house in Minneapolis and shipping container there with a
yeah.
editing suite and vocal booth and all that fun stuff. So
Well, we're going to dig into all that stuff on what your business does, but we got to dig into how you got here. And we were small talk before we recorded, and I said to you, and I say this all the time, so those people that listen more often know I feel this way. This is a gift for me to be able to learn about you and share you with all of our listeners. And the journey that you've taken to get to where you're at now. I mean, there's things that you put in some of your prep documentation and even our short conversation I would have never known about. And that's what I love about doing this is just let's share that story and what makes you you and the human element of this. I mean, we all know the business name and all that other stuff, but the human element of you and all of this is what I'm here for, man.
yeah, it's a bit of a windy road. So
Yeah.
it's a fun story to tell. I mean, I enjoy it. Like what I'm doing today kind of takes in so much of my background, different things here
Yeah.
and there, kind of sprinkle into what I'm doing today. It's kind of fun.
Well, let's begin at this path at the beginning. So, where were you? Were you born and raised in the same area?
Kind of. So yeah, I'm a Wisconsin boy, born in Wisconsin, just outside of Milwaukee and Waukesha. Shortly thereafter, family moved to California just for a brief stint, and then right back to Wisconsin. I grew up a bit in a small town called Waiwega. People have to look that up on a map if you can spell it. Good luck.
Yeah,
But
right.
most of my upbringing was in Neenah, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
So if you go out in your street and you look at a manhole cover, it'll say Neenah Foundry on it, and that's the town I'm from.
And isn't that a big paper town?
It is a big paper town. Yeah, Neenah
Is
Printing's
it?
from there.
Yeah.
Huge printing town. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, were you a good kid?
Yeah, I was a good kid. I was youngest of six. Honestly, I was kind of a bit of a maverick and left on my own a bit. By the time I jokingly say I was a Mac baby, middle-aged
Mm,
carelessness. I'm the youngest of six. My closest sibling in age is 5 years older than me.
mm.
We have two sisters who are the oldest siblings, and then four brothers. And by the
Oh,
time I was 5, 6 years old, a lot of them were out of the house.
right.
And so I just could kind of, I grew up in that time where you could go ride your bike all day long, just be home by dark, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so I
Me
grew
too.
up, as a young kid growing up, like going out and, catching night crawlers, putting them in a bucket and then go fishing.
Yeah.
That was like 6, 7 years old and you're gone all day. Like no one would ever do that today, so it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a interesting time period.
So so your youngest of six. So what is the age range from you being the youngest to your oldest sister?
Yeah. So my oldest sister, I want to say is 11 years older than me, 11 or 12.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I
So
have
there's
one
a, I
sister who's
mean,
exactly 10 years older than me. So
so there was I mean, that's actually a pretty short time frame between all of you kids being born. And 10 years isn't really that crazy. Did it take you a little while to develop a relationship with your oldest sister?
you know, not at first. So my folks were together for about 21 years. By the time I was 8 years old, they were divorced. But prior to that, I would say, they were all the siblings were around a little bit here and there. And then we've kept really tight through the years. But yeah, I had a little bit of a relationship with my oldest sister and even the next sister in line. But I was probably closest with my brothers just because of age.
Is anybody besides you, mom, dad, siblings, anybody else an entrepreneur?
I thought about this before coming here today. Yeah, my folks were a little bit entrepreneurial. My dad, for sure, like he was very resourceful, could do a lot of different things. A guy he could sing, he could dance, he could build stuff. He did a lot of different things in his career. My mom ended up being pretty entrepreneurial as well, with real estate. Once I got divorced and she was a single parent and I moved with her, she did pretty well for herself in real estate. And so they both had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. My siblings definitely do. Every single one of them is kind of an entrepreneur at heart. Many of them have owned their own companies. And so it took me a while to get there in my journey, but ultimately here we are. So
I have a couple other questions I want to ask you, but one that is just, I got to get it out of my head because it's just eating me from the inside out is a little inside baseball here. I always ask every one of our guests to kind of fill out this little prep form. You did it. It should take you about 10 minutes. And you answered a question more specific than anyone that I've ever gotten a response from. And so one of the things I always like to talk about is, how do you think you got here? Like nature versus nurture dynamic. And some people are going to be, they kind of skirt over a little bit, or some people are just like 50-50, half of the way I was raised, half the way I was born. You were very specific on 70-30 and 70% nurture, 30% nature. How did you come to that number, those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me tomorrow, I might change the numbers, but
I love it.
It's a great question. It's a great question. And certainly I'm one of those kids that are an example that it takes a village. Yeah, I mean, I could just kind of do whatever I wanted to from a very early age on. My mom was great single parent. My dad wasn't too far away. However, there's just so many people in my life that have championed me along the way. And I just wanted to kind of give respect to that, 30% sure is nature. Do I love leading things? Yeah. Do I love building things? Yes. So, and when I was a kid, anytime we had to sell anything for baseball or soccer or whatever we were playing at the time, we'd have to sell like candy bars, chocolate covered turtles. I mean, these are things that kind of come to mind.
Yeah.
I had a paper out by the time I was 11. I had two paper outs by the time I was 12 because I got to do two that were block to block right next to each other. So that was kind of cool. And in the beginning there with a paper out like that, you're collecting the money. You don't make money unless you go knock on the door and collect the money. So delivering the papers is just part of it. So it's kind of like a little mini company. Yeah. But I would say, some of that was more nature. Just I wanted to do that stuff. I liked doing it. It was fun. And the nurture side was just so many people along the way from the time I was a little kid to the time really in college and beyond.
So you said you were a pretty good kid. What kind of extracurricular activities were you into in high school? What was your jam?
Yeah. So for the longest time, I think I kind of didn't do a whole lot. I was a BMX kid. So my sport was BMX.
Oh,
I loved baseball. I loved soccer. But by the time I got to be a certain age, I had to kind of pick because those take place during the summer. So ultimately from the age of probably 9 years old, 10 years old until I was about 18, 19, I raced BMX, loved it. And so that was kind of my sport jam. I wasn't fast enough I tried out for football. I was on the football team like in 11th grade and I completely just sucked because I hadn't played since 7th grade. And I was like, let's give it another try. And I just got dominated. But I love all sports. I mean, coordinated, yes. The speed for soccer or the speed for football, no. For some reason, I was fast on a bike. But
well, I mean, I mean, BMX. So I think we're about roughly the same age. I'm 47, and you sound everything you're talking about. We're about the same because we're products of the 80s, and 80s BMX was huge, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I do think like I don't think people probably give it the right credit for the amount of effort it takes to get good at that,
Oh,
and
know.
it's an equal sport to a lot of these other sports that you're talking about.
Yeah, you're literally on the bike every day, and my dad was my coach for the most part, and we traveled around doing it. So we raced. You're in Wisconsin, so how do you race BMX in the wintertime? You either travel or you race indoors, and that was pretty fun. So yeah, it's total product of the 80s. And actually, I kind of grew up somewhat in a bike shop very early on. This bike shop in my hometown, the guys took me in, and I was like, I think vacuuming and cleaning bathrooms when I was like 9, 10 years old. And by the time I was, 15, 16, working there, racing for them. Yeah.
Do you remember a time where you spilled so bad that it's just like one of those that you think back and you're just like, it still gives you shivers down your spine?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I think the hardest fall was I just built a quarter pipe in my driveway. and thinking like, oh, it'd be fun to trick ride. I've been racing for so long. Let's try trick riding. Went up, I'd had it maybe for only a couple months and came down hard on the driveway. Thought I broke my femur. My leg was huge. And my dad basically said, and my dad didn't live with us at the time. They were already divorced, but he came over and saw the injury and he's like, okay, so do you want to race or do you want to trick ride? And I said, I want to race. And he said, okay, the ramp's got to go.
Yeah, we're
So
burning that thing.
yep, that was it. And it was crazy as my stepdad helped me build that ramp. So it was a bit
yeah, a little chippy.
yeah. I'll be careful about that one.
Yeah, I like that. I'm assuming you went to college.
Yes.
Where'd you go to your undergrad?
Yeah, I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
had a great time.
So what'd you go for?
So originally, there's a kind of a theme in my life where I was kind of wanting to do like architecture, engineering, but really ended up gravitating towards theater, and those two are totally different. And there's a journey there. But so that really started in high school, where I was really working on either architecture or engineering. And then as an 11th grader, got introduced to theater and got bit by that bug and really enjoyed it a lot. But by the time I went to college, I was like, okay, I got to do something serious, got to do something I can make a living in. So let's go back to the thought of doing like engineering or something like that. So at Marquette, I started out in the College of Arts and Sciences because I didn't quite have the grades to get in engineering. Toyed around with that, learned pretty early on that, yeah, I just really don't want to do engineering. So then I was like, okay, I really want to do theater, but I'm deathly afraid of being broke my whole life. So what am I going to do? So I thought, okay, well, let's look around. Let's see what else is here. So I took accounting 1, accounting 2. I took macroeconomics, microeconomics. I took pre-law classes. I was just trying to search for, what else could like do it for me instead of theater. And I did take a acting class for non-majors, just to kind of see. And the professor came to me probably middle of the semester and said, hey, I think you should think about doing this for a living and do this for a major. And so finally, by the end of sophomore year, I committed to doing theater, and the rest is history from there.
Wow, what a difference. First of all, like I love hearing these stories about how the paths that you think you're taking when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and then look at you now, right? Doing something completely different. But I think, as some of the things that you've done in your life, do you think that the theater experience in school has informed some of the paths that you've taken?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Maybe someday I'll write a book called What Acting Taught Me About Marketing, because there are some parallels about, understanding your audience and understanding brand, understanding script, understanding, different things about that craft that help you ideate, that help you think strategically. So that's kind of fun to see those parallels. Yeah. And then just other stuff that I also studied along the way has really helped. And I kind of feel like I'm using all those things today. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And coming out of high school, one thing I mentioned was right out of high school, I got a job being a framing carpenter. And that's another one of those scenarios where somebody gave me a shot, gave me a chance. I had never done anything like that before. I wanted to learn it. I thought it was a good way to get a good tan and maybe build up some bulk. So started building houses, and really that's been something I've kept going and even now doing DIY stuff and tearing apart a house and taking it down to studs and rebuilding it and stuff like that. I think I maybe should have looked into doing that as a career because I was doing it in 1988, and the housing market has had some booms since then. It's also had its down times, but mostly booms.
Well, it's even just hearing you talk about, a little bit of you're being a little bit of a renaissance man in that respect, to where you're okay with singing and acting, and you're good with your hands. And then I think back about how you talked about your dad, like it kind of emulates a little bit of like how he approaches things as well, right? Like you're not afraid to get your hands dirty, and it's almost like, I know I almost say this about myself too, is like jack of all trades, master of none. Like I can always figure it out. Like it's just everything's figure outable, right?
That's right. Yeah. In late high school career, my physics teacher told my mom that I would maybe never meet my full potential because I spread myself too thin. And I was like, yep, I mean, guilty. I mean, I could have taken it as an insult and how dare you, but I looked at it and said, yeah, you're kind of right. There's a tendency to kind of want to try to do all sorts of things, and that can hurt you if you're not careful. So I think, as you become an adult and responsibilities, you got to kind of pick some stuff, but definitely I've been more open to trying things than not trying them.
So when you go to school for theater, then you make your decision on theater, and that is, I think by a lot of standards, people would go to school for something, maybe engineering or something like that, and then they'll do theater as almost like an extracurricular activity. Whereas, like, you poured yourself into this. So if you're pouring yourself into the theater, what did you do for extracurricular activities, to stuff to kind of keep you, the creative aspect of things?
Yeah, man, it was so consuming to do that as a major.
Gotcha.
It's hard to actually do other schoolwork, but I think building kept another outlet for me. So I had the luxury of having a boss during college that basically just said, "Hey, keep your tools in your car, and anytime you want to show up on the job site, just show up and you got a job." So there's times where I do that, but yeah, I think that was probably my biggest outlet was that. And of course, you're in college, so there was a bit of partying and having fun there, but I don't know how creative that was.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break here. Let's listen to a few of our community supporters. I want to get into your career. So my next question is going to be what your first quote unquote real job was out of college. But before we dive into that, let's take a quick break here. Listen to a few of our community supporters for a couple of minutes and come back with Joe. Kaisa Wealth Management treats each client like a member of the family. Acting as your personal CFO, we are fiercely devoted to your financial prosperity. At Kaisa, our wealth strategies are aligned with your core values, creating a wealth plan centered around legacies you wish to create. This is our Kaisa commitment. Our wealth strategies are dynamic and tailor-made for your long-term goals because as a fee-only investment firm, excellence in service is not just a promise, it's our baseline. Whether it's selling a business, planning succession, creating a legacy, navigating life challenges like death or divorce, supporting executives on the move, planning retirement, or preserving family wealth, we are here for you. Find out how we can help to simplify your wealth at kaisawealth.com. The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at Insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit SeilerLaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your business is having challenges with adding revenue, or you're ready for quicker growth and scale. Your sales team lacks a coach or mentor to help guide and excel their production, and you're not quite sure who the best resource is for sourcing and replacing sales professionals on your team. When you're looking for a company that provides sales solutions that drive growth, look up Sales Homie. Sales Homie is the premier fractional CRO or VP sales agency, additionally offering sales recruiting and placement services, sales leadership coaching, and sales team training programs. Don't put your business at risk with low revenues and uninspired sales professionals. Learn more about Sales Homie by visiting their website at saleshomie.com. Sales Homie, sales solutions that drive growth.
Are you a local business owner looking to take your enterprise to the next level? Look no further than Security Bank and Trust Company, your partner in growth. Our dedicated team of smart, experienced bankers understand the unique challenges and opportunities facing businesses like yours. With personalized financial solutions and expert advice, we're here to help you succeed every step of the way. From tailored business loans to cutting-edge digital banking services, Security Bank and Trust is committed to your success. Experience the difference a local bank can make. Visit us today at any of our convenient locations or online at security-banks.com. Security Bank and Trust, growing together.
And we're back with Joe Beard here. We're just about to dive into his career. I did a little foreshadowing on what my next question was going to be. And so, what was that first real job, quote unquote, real job? You know, I'm sure you probably had maybe some side hustle jobs or even something related to the theater at school. But what was your first real job out of school?
Yeah, real job. So right straight out of school, I moved up to Minneapolis a year prior to graduating at Marquette. Some buddies from high school reached out and said, "Hey, we're doing a band up here in Minneapolis. You should come check it out." So I came up here, rehearsed a little bit with them, saw what they were doing, really liked it. And so when I graduated college, came up here. Yeah, what do you do with a college degree but join a band, you know? So was that my first real job? I would say yes, because I mean, we spent so much time working that craft. I think we did pretty well for the given amount of time we were together.
What genre was it?
Alternative. Yep.
Oh.
So if you're familiar with like the band The Alarm from the UK, that was a big influence for us. The Police were a big influence. U2 was a big influence, stuff like that.
So like early alternative, like 80s alternative versus like what I think when I hear alternative, I'm maybe a couple years younger than you, but I'm a Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pacific Northwest, grunge, right? That's that.
Yeah, I like all those bands.
But it's a little, you were just a little bit different, John, a little bit different time frame.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, cool. And then, all right, separate from, I'm going to ask, so that's my two-part question then. So that is your first real job. How about something that started to propel your career?
Yeah.
Your first job there.
So here's where things repeat themselves. Again, high school, I was, looking to do architecture, engineering, and then ultimately just kind of fell in love with theater stuff. Went to college, started engineering, stuff like that, and went to theater. This time around, graduate, I do the band. Ultimately, I just felt like I was going to possibly ruin my life in the music industry, as it was then. And so I started looking for something different. And my brother sent me some information about a company he was working for as an engineering company. And he said, "Hey, I think, just take a look at this stuff. If it's something that resonates with you and you'd like to try, I think you'd be good at it." So it was engineering sales. I interviewed with like 21 people over 3 days at this company. At the end, they send you to a shrink for a few hours. And so all of a sudden I get this, I guess I would say, a real job, in that all of a sudden I'm salaried. I'm in the engineering field, so to speak. And, life just took a right-hand turn, but I was okay with it. I wanted to kind of explore it and see where it went. So I did inside sales for about 2.5 years, then moved to outside sales and moved back over here. Because at that point, I had gone from Minnesota back to Wisconsin for that job, and then took another job in outside sales over here to get us back to Minneapolis, and ended up doing that for about 8 years. And it was exciting. It was fun. It was, exciting, maybe not exciting. It was interesting. Yeah. I was selling pumps and filtration systems to the environmental wastewater market, to the industrial market, where you learn how all sorts of food is made and different things are made, and the pulp and paper industry. So it was a bit of a mixed bag, but it was a great learning experience. It kept you curious about everything, like how does this work and how does that work? And it's very consultative. It's a consultative type of selling. It's capital equipment, and it was just a real learning curve for me. And that was pre-internet, almost pre-email. I mean, email just came on during that time, if you will.
So that was a sales gig, first time sales gig. Do you have did you have a mentor or someone that was kind of guiding you through that process? That, obviously everybody sells, right? Now, being the founder of a business, you're probably selling just as much as anybody else is that has that in their title. Who was that person that kind of brought you in on the world of sales?
Yeah, definitely my brother. He was really good at it. And he excelled in the engineering side of things as well. So he was an engineer by degree, and he excelled in it. So he was definitely a mentor in terms of how to approach a particular company, how to learn about their systems, what to do, what not to do, and I mean, the coaching went from how to handshake to how to sit in your chair. I mean, he can be pretty brutal, but he a great champion of mine, and definitely a mentor in terms of sales at that point in time.
How long did you do that gig for?
About 8 years, I think. Yeah, about 8 years. And then took a complete right-hand turn from there.
So what made you, we'll get into that right-hand turn. When did you know that your time in sales in that role was coming to an end? And then let's dial into what you did next.
Yeah. So faith has played a big part in my life for a long time. In between the band and choosing to go into this engineering sales thing, I also thought about doing the LA thing and being an actor. Went out there 3 different times to look for an apartment. And all 3 times I went out there, I just felt like this. I felt like God was telling me, this is not what I have for you. So I try to be sensitive to that voice, try to be sensitive to what maybe next move should be. And literally, God just opened doors. It was about the year 2000. I'd already been serving quite a bit in our church, and the church came to me and said, "Hey, we understand you have a background in like production and so on and so forth. Can we talk to you about possibly coming on staff with the church?" And immediate answer was yes. And ironically, on the same day they offered me a job, I was also offered a job as a national sales manager for a big pump manufacturer. And so I had this decision to make because the pump manufacturer job looked pretty good. Is like 90 grand plus commission, plus some other spiffs, plus a car, but you traveled all the time, and it was like 80% travel. And most of that was going to be plane travel. And so I looked at it and thought, great opportunity, but I'm going to ruin my marriage if I if I take this job. At least that's that's what I thought. So when the church came knocking and said, "Hey, would you ever consider this?" I talked it over with my wife, and we were both like, "Yes, let's do it." So that's what got me into full-time ministry, which then lasted 10 years.
And I mean, that has to be a massive decision, because I can't imagine that the budget aligned with what the sales gig was offering. So you were legitimately making a conscious decision for what you wanted to do versus what you had to do. And do you think that that is kind of how you, like, even using that as an example, is like how you approach decision making? Is one, I think I picked up on a couple of tones there. One is like being very conscious to listening to what intuition is saying, God is saying, like all of those perspectives. But then also too, like, it's not always going to be the most profitable thing. So
That's right.
I think that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, thanks. It's not that those decisions are always easy. I remember going back to the church and saying, "Hey, so I'm going to be dropping my salary by half to come work for you. I'm not really sure where in my budget I can cut." And so I actually gave them my budget. I said, here's my monthly out. And they, to their credit, they came back and said, "Your budget doesn't seem out of whack." And so we're kind of thinking maybe everybody should get a raise here. And so they increased the offer, and it made it easier to do it. It wasn't one-to-one. It was, I was still taking a pay cut. But I believed it ultimately would result in good things. So the decisions aren't always easy, but sometimes some of them are. And I would say that the money, I've always felt like the money will take care of itself somehow, some way.
Was it a big church? I mean, it's got to be a big church if you're putting on production. I mean, and I think about like 2000, right? Like I think you even said it so I don't feel like I'm off base here saying this, like the mega churches or whatever, I use air quotes for those that are listening. Like, I don't really think they were as prevalent in like 2000 as now they've become, to where, there's a handful of mega churches around the Twin Cities. And obviously we know about some of them on a national basis, but I got to imagine that there wasn't too many of those around.
Not really, and especially not here in the Twin Cities that we're doing kind of what we were doing. Predominantly, we were a portable church, so we were basically every weekend you're going into schools, unloading all the gear, setting up, doing your thing, taking it all back down, either storing it on site or putting it in a truck, getting it out of there. It was a lot of work and a lot of volunteers. We could not do it without the volunteers. And any church, at least at that time, any church that was like 2,000 people or more was considered a mega church. So this was definitely a mega church. It was pretty much like twice that many people at the time. We had ultimately 5 locations around the metro. So we were a multi-campus church, as they're called. And so we had multiple teams doing this all over the city.
How long did you do that for?
About 10 years.
Did you love it?
I loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
How come you're not doing it anymore?
Well, I do. That's the kind of funny thing about this is that, I stepped out of full-time ministry like as a vocation, as getting a check for it. And at first I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is important stuff. It's very meaningful. I got to see changed lives. Like, it was awesome. And so it was hard to leave it, but I was given a great opportunity by a guy in the church to enter into the creative agency world. It was a world that I had looked at from afar and said, I'd like to try that. But I don't really have the pedigree on paper. And ironically, I'm doing more ministry now today than maybe I ever did. And I'm not getting a paycheck for it, which is great. It's good. But I stepped down from that position, but stayed at the church for like another 7 years, and now we're at a different church. Yeah.
Cool. So then what did you pivot to? So that got you down to the path to where you're now on. It just, you took a little bit of a step aside. So what was, you went and landed with a creative agency. What was a creative agency? What were you doing?
Yeah, so it's a digital creative agency here in town. I was brought on as a director to basically start a video and motion graphics team, and do business development. And so that's what I did. And I came on in 2008 when really the market wasn't too awesome. There was this thing called online video that was just starting to take shape. So it was a good time to become a director doing just that. So led that effort and grew that team to about 7-8 people. A large share of the revenue of the company was coming through the company as video content. Not that I sold it all, but just we were doing a ton of video content. So yeah, I did that for over 5 years, and then wanted to launch Bionic Giant. So,
that is that paradigm shifting event. You've had multiple paradigm shifting events. That's one thing that I always ask about on here. But there was, like, I have to imagine that you learned about the business aspect of things in that 5 years leading that digital agency that eventually informed you to say, I could do this myself. Yeah. And so what was that catalyst that made you decide that you wanted to go on your entrepreneurial journey, all the while being respectful of that firm that you were leaving?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had been doing some freelance stuff on the side here and there, because people at the church would come to me and say, hey, I hear you're doing marketing stuff. Like, do you know how to do this? And so I would just do small stuff here and there. As that went on and on and on, all of a sudden, the asks became a little bit more serious. Never, though, at the level that I would say, hey, let's take this to the firm I'm working with, because they wouldn't work on stuff like that. It's still too small for them to work on it. So I didn't feel like I was taking anything from the agency that I was working for. And I always kept the freelance legit in its place. So I didn't even take calls during the day. I didn't do stuff over lunch. It was all evening kind of stuff. And it just got to a point where all of a sudden I was like, man, I could probably launch something. I love building things, and I've always loved building teams. I never wanted to be a sole proprietor and just do this on my own or be like a freelance solo guy. I wanted to build a team. So ultimately, I'd seen it done really, really well where I was at. The owner had great work-life balance, good dad, good husband. We were in worship band together, like all sorts of great things about how he led his life and his company. So I just really wanted to try it. So yeah.
And I think that's a good example. It sounds to me, even just the way that you explain it, is like you had a good mentor in that person of like, this is how I would want to emulate being a business owner, right? It sounds to me like you went the path of being like, I want this business to be symbiotic with the life that I want to live rather than dedicate my life to the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So so was it Bionic Giant from day one? Like, was that your first business name?
So it was. Originally, I'd launched an LLC long before that, just to do some sideline video stuff that, again, people at the church would ask for. But yeah, Bionic Giant was the name. I was looking for a 2-word name. I liked some of the more obscure names out there, other agencies like Big Spaceship and different things that I thought, wow, it's kind of cool. I also, though, knew it was kind of a risk. So in branding, it's oftentimes not exactly about what you call it, but it's about what you surround it with. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, we have to have swagger. We got to surround it with some cool stuff. Otherwise, it might not come off real well. So Bionic is an homage to the Bionic Man. I am a product of the 70s and the 80s. I was a big Bionic Man fan. And if you remember, the Bionic Man was half human, half machine, half technology. And I feel like that's what we do, right? In the creative agency world, we're coming up with creative solutions to business problems. And we do that with our human ingenuity, and we also do it with the technology that we play with. So I thought, okay, I like the word bionic. What can I partner it with? And the word giant is really just more of a feeling that I want people to have, and I want our team to have when we're done with the project and we look back at it, that it was edifying, to everybody. It's not just about the work, but it's about how we do the work, and it's about how our clients feel when we're done doing the work together. Because they may forget about exactly what you did years from now, but they won't forget what it was like working with you.
What role was the first role that you hired?
Oh, first role hired was a part-time video guy. First full-time role was a creative director, and we had worked together previously, and we're still working together today. So that's
Sweet.
like going on 17 years now. Ultimately brought on executive producer. We've also been working together for almost that long. And so right now the team is about 14 people. We have 2 in Denver. So we have a satellite office in Denver and our headquarters here in Minneapolis.
Tell me about a time when you were building this business to where you're like, oh man, S is getting real. Like this is becoming a legit business. Like I like either a client slapped you upside the head with some kind of like a project they wanted you to do, or something where you're just like, this is a legit business.
Yeah. So, I would say it would have to be Great Clips. So Great Clips is a great story about just like sticking with it sometimes. So I've got a good friend there that works there, and we would have lunch and talk about, man, it'd be great to work together. But where do we start? Because he thought, they have all in-house capabilities, so they don't really need us. And we were already working with like United Healthcare. So, that's a company that has in-house capabilities, but they still work with a ton of agencies. So I said, well, let's just keep talking. And so he calls me up out of the blue and he says, hey, so I think I've got something for you. Would you guys be open to designing a homepage for our website within the next 48 hours? Just a concept of how you would do it. And it would be for no pay. And I was like, sure. So got off the phone. We kind of hit pause on a few things we were working on, and we spent the next, 24 to 48 hours working on a mock-up of greatclips.com. And I hope it's okay to tell a story. I think it is. So delivered it to him, and he came back and said, hey, they like your design savvy, so they'd like you to come in and present capabilities. So I came in, and I thought we'd be presenting maybe to, a few people. We were presenting, I think, to like 14 or 16 people. Ultimately, out of that, we were offered a chance to do their mobile app. And I guess I tell the story because we didn't really do mobile apps before that a whole lot. We didn't do them at all, but I had met what would become a strategic partner of ours in doing mobile apps. And so it was just ironic that of all the things we do, we're going to get a shot at their mobile app, which we haven't really done, but we felt confident in doing it. It was just, kind of a little bit different from a website, but kind of the same. So yeah, they ultimately hired us to do that, and we worked on that for 9 years or so. But that was a moment where when they called to say, "Hey, you got it. We're giving it to you." I remember exactly where I was standing. It was an emotional moment because it was another one of those types of brands where you get that kind of work, and it's like, okay, this is a long-term relationship that we're about to step into, which is great. That's exactly what I want. So yeah, I was in the lobby of 612 Brew when I got that phone call, and that was a good day.
Oh, that's a great day. That's crazy. Like, and that's a brand everybody knows. I don't use those people and their services. I'm follically challenged, but they do. But I think seriously, I can see why that is one of those like defining moments. So a couple questions.
And by the way, sorry, real quick, we went on to work with like 4 different divisions of the company. So,
oh, really?
So I guess, the story is, when you first start talking to somebody and it's like, I don't know how we'll work together, but we should work together. And we have in-house capabilities. Like ultimately we were working in so many different divisions. It's been so much fun. It still is so much fun. They're a great client. No pun intended.
We get all sorts of random, we've got people that listen and watch this podcast that are small businesses, large businesses, things like that. Who do you really serve well? Like, where's your target and what sandbox do you like to play in?
Yeah. So, I mean, we serve clients that are, we still have United Healthcare as a client. So Fortune 6 company to Gray Clips, which does over $1 billion a year. And we work with startups and we work with everybody in between. If it's someone who has a budget to play, because this isn't cheap. We're not the most expensive, but we're not the cheapest. And they value what we do. So we do digital marketing. We use tech and we use video. We can craft services in every layer of the buyer funnel for people. And we're all about elevating brand, elevating story, connecting with the audiences. And so if that's via social, it fine. If that's via the website, if that's via some other channel, it could be offline channels, it could be print, it could be direct mail, it could be, we get involved in all sorts of campaigns and different things like that. And so really it's anybody who values what we kind of bring to the table and has money to play and are great people to work with. That's important. So size companies, I would say anybody that probably is doing less than 10 mil in revenue would be really maybe tough to work with. However, I've had people who do less than $1 million in revenue and they've spent quite a bit of money with us because they want to have a brand that's elevated to give their brand a real shot. So that's why it's a little bit hard to answer that question, because we've worked with people that make less than $1 million in revenue.
Yeah, right.
And work with people that make 10 million and work with people that make, massive dough.
Yeah, I think it comes down to budget, right? And what people are allocating to that. I'm going to put it under the umbrella of marketing, obviously, but I think it goes a lot of different ways. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk through it a little bit, but I also understand that, there's a budget and people need to be thoughtful about how they're going to use that. So that this next question, we could probably do a whole podcast on, so let's not go down a rabbit hole here, but in the next couple of years, how are you foreseeing AI plays a role in the evolution of your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's already impacting our business. I think AI, first of all, I don't think it's intelligent yet. I think it's just an advanced search engine and that kind of thing, but that's arguable. I think for our business right now, it's helping us get to where we need to go faster on projects. So what does that mean? That means if we need to write something, we can do 10, 12, 16 iterations on it. And we can do that pretty quickly using AI, but you definitely want to give it the human touch, because no matter how hard you work AI bots right now, they don't have the human touch yet. So it does help us. AI right now is helping us get to where we're going faster. It can help marketers get to where they're going faster. But it is still missing quite a bit of a human touch. If we're going to be crafting conceptual art stuff, we can use some AI stuff to get that artwork to a point where the client can go, I get it. I get to where you're going with it. But then for the final product, we're not going to use AI to generate that. We're going to do it ourselves. So kind of getting to concepts faster, or getting to some of the verbiage, copy that messaging that we create for people. AI is helpful in getting there faster. But as far as like replacing jobs, I don't, at least in our industry, I don't see that for a while.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give it an opportunity to talk about how people can get a hold of you and stuff like that. I heard you loud and clear through this conversation that besides your business, your faith and your family plays a huge role into who you are. We touched on the faith side of things. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Oh man. So I am a father of daughters. I've got three. We have three daughters. They are 26, 23, and 18. We are technically formally empty nesters, which is beyond bizarre, because I still feel 30 years old in my head.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah. They're great. One of them is a kids pastor here in the metro for River Valley Church in Minnetrista. My wife, I married up, and she's quite involved with women's ministry stuff at church and helping me run the biz as well. My 23-year-old Audrey's in Nashville at the Belonging Co Church there in college. She's studying to get her master's through Southeastern University out of Lakeland, Florida, but they have an affiliation in Nashville, so she can do it from there. And then our youngest is actually going to Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida, and she's 18. And so, yeah, we are officially empty nesters and trying to figure out the next chapter for us, which is exciting. It's fun.
It is exciting. It is a whole new chapter. And anybody that I've talked, I don't have kids and stuff, but I do know that people that are at this stage, it's like almost learning how to date again and all that other stuff. And so it's good to be able to
Yep.
have this nest aspect of what you got going on in the future and how it all plays together.
That's right. That's right. It's fun.
Yeah. I love it. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's listen to a few more of our community supporters. Then we're going to dive in headfirst to 9 questions. I got a couple I teed up specifically for you, and so I'm pumped to get that going. So let's listen to a few of our community supporters. We'll come back with Jill. Verseek Search and Consulting is thrilled to support Coalition 9 for another exciting year. Verseek is a Minnesota-based, high-performance recruiting firm that specializes in interim solutions, direct hire, and executive leadership search. Our team of experienced professionals and seasoned leaders across various areas of expertise and industries have been in your shoes. We quickly assess your whole company and identify key elements that will take your business to the next level. Your company's success hinges on the capacity of your people, and a few areas of your business are more critical than your finance and accounting team. You need talent who can move the needle while winning the trust of leaders and stakeholders within your organization. Your people make it possible. Verseek can help connect you with the talented candidates within finance and accounting for consulting or direct hire needs, as well as within the industry areas in executive search, direct hire, and interim solutions. People are the ultimate business advantage. Find your people together with Verseek and make the best possible for your business. Learn more by visiting Verseek.com and by following Verseek on LinkedIn. United Healthcare is dedicated to helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone by simplifying the healthcare experience, meeting consumer health and wellness needs, and sustaining trusted relationships with care providers. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.6 million physicians and healthcare professionals in over 6,000 hospitals, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting employers and their employees to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. For more information, visit United Healthcare at www.uhc.com. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. Tradition Capital Bank is a local bank that has the products and capabilities to service middle-market companies, nonprofits, and their owners, employees, and families by offering a high-touch approach paired with customizable solutions. Think of them as your nimble ally serving with generosity, care, and precision. Tradition starts with the assumption that there's always more to learn, try, and discover, aiming to find the best yes for whomever they have the privilege of working beside. From a foundation of trust, Tradition takes disciplined, smart risks to help people grow beyond what they even thought possible. Tradition Capital Bank is the second largest privately owned bank headquartered in the Twin Cities, and with locations in Edina, Wayzata, and North Oaks, Minnesota, alongside their office in Scottsdale, Arizona, Tradition Capital Bank is committed to big bank offerings with a small bank ethos. Let their team be the friend you need in your next financial move. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at BoulayGroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. As a boutique Twin Cities-based investment banking firm, Madeira Partners works closely with family, founder, and management-owned businesses, bringing over 25 years of experience and hundreds of successful transactions to the table. It's in their DNA to educate owners on what potential exit opportunities look like, along with any industry or company-specific things to think about to make your business more attractive to potential buyers. Regardless if you want to sell tomorrow or in 10 years, the team at Madeira Partners would love to provide their expertise and guidance along the way. Take some time to explore their website at madeirapartners.com. Madeira Partners, your life's work deserves our best work. In addition to our amazing prospering and thriving level supporters, we want to shine a spotlight on our equally amazing evolving level supporters. Alliant Insurance Services, Bauer Design Build, Beyond Design Resource Group, Entrabank, Fluid Interiors, and Modern Foundation. All of the Coalition 9 community supporters can be found at coalition9.com/community-supporters. All right, we're back with Joe Beard. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I have a feeling I even abbreviated some things because I think we could have probably done a 2-hour podcast. So that was really good. So let's
I'm a
use these
talker,
9
so it's standard.
questions. Yeah. So let's use these 9 questions to paint a little bit more of a picture. Can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have no idea.
I love
Be
it.
gentle, please.
That's so good. Yeah. All right. Some of these you've heard before because you're a listener, and I'm hoping that you've got something kind of locked and loaded, but then a couple curveballs for you. What is the strangest thing that you've ever eaten?
Oh, strangest thing I've ever eaten. I was invited to go to Guatemala to film on my own. So I took all the camera gear and everything to film a celebration for this school that was celebrating their first completed year of school. It was a brand new school that was built in the mountains, and is Guatemala. It's 9,000 feet up in the mountains, and it's people are living in huts and different things. And a family invited us for lunch. The oddest thing I've ever eaten was definitely the soup that they served. So it was delicious, but at some point, all of a sudden, there's a chicken head and there's chicken
Oof.
talons, and it's all
Oof.
right there. It's like, I didn't see it at first, and it kind of comes up to the surface, and I'm like, okay, don't waste a single part of the animal. I get it.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was tasty. I did not
Right.
eat those things though. I was like, yeah, we're just gonna push those aside.
Very
That
healthy.
yeah.
Right? Like that's bone broth. They're cooking everything.
Yep.
I think at one point we had chicken talons in our freezer because there's a lot of that gelatin that they pull out of that, and when they boil it. So I mean, you probably
Yeah.
were a healthier guy for having it.
And you're a braver man than me. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
It was good. It was a great experience.
Yeah, cool. What is one of your hidden talents
Oh,
that we didn't talk about today?
Hidden talents. Well, I'm a singer, but people that know me kind of know that. I guess carpentry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love getting lost in a good project, and that can be tearing apart a wall or building something, that's a bit more ornate. But yeah, carpentry.
Describe to me your favorite meal.
Ooh, favorite meal would have to be it would be an Italian dinner in Italy with friends, and probably about 4 hours long, which is the way they are over there.
Yeah.
And you don't walk away disappointed.
Any one thing in specific you would want to have be a part of that meal?
Oh man, people will laugh, but I love spaghetti carbonara. I mean, it's a very simple dish, but I love it, man. I go over there and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I love it. When's the last time you were in Italy? That's not part of your 9 questions.
Oh, last time we actually got the chance to film for a laser manufacturer. We do a lot with manufacturing and a lot in healthcare. And this particular laser's used in both refurbishing priceless works of art as well as doing surgical procedures. And so we were given the opportunity to go over there and film behind the scenes at the Vatican, which was amazing. Seeing how they use the lasers to refurbish sculptures and all sorts of cool stuff, and then also got to see some surgical things as well over there. So yeah,
cool.
And so we were in Rome, we were in Florence. Yeah, it was great.
Sweet. Who would play you in the biography of your life?
Oh man, I don't know, Matt Damon.
I like Matt. Yeah, there you go. Love it.
Probably Matt Damon.
All right. If you could go on a weekend vacation with 2 people, no one in your immediate family, and I'm going to include like brothers and sisters, mom, dad, daughters, wife, those people, who would those 2 people be?
Oh man, on vacation.
Weekend vacation. Weekend trip.
Vacation.
Yeah. 2 nights, 3 days.
Oh,
Friday,
man.
Saturday, Sunday.
I'm going to say Chip Gaines. I think that'd be a blast.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
2 people. Oh man, I might have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
It is a tough one. Yeah, probably, I don't know, like Ridley Scott or somebody like that would be kind of fun.
I love what I actually my biggest joy out of that is watching you squirm trying to think of
Yeah.
people and like
Oh,
watching you catalog people and being like, who am I going to piss off if I say
yeah.
this person's name and then I don't say this person's name or whatever.
Right.
So Chip Gaines and Ridley Scott are pretty safe options that you're not going to hurt anybody's
Right.
feelings.
Neither one has
Yeah.
anything to do with the other one. So
Yeah, yeah. We talked about music a little bit. There's a couple of music related questions in here. Your first one is, what was your first album? So I'm going to call it probably album or tape or something like that you purchased on your own.
oh yeah. First one that I purchased on my own would probably be like U2, Boy or War. It'd be The Police, Synchronicity, one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Good. Would you rather make your own clothes or grow your own food?
Oh man. I heard this one with Chris Probst. I gotta say, I would grow my own food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little sidebar to that. When I see you, you wear a lot of black. Is that a thing? Or is that just by coincidence? Yeah.
You'd have to talk to my wife because she does all the shopping. Like I literally don't like clothes shopping, and I don't want people out there going, "Oh my gosh, like he has his wife do." I just don't like shopping, and she kind of comes home with a lot of black, and it's slimming.
Yeah,
Aaron,
heck
it's
yeah.
Slimming.
I'm saying it looks good. But I just wanted to know, maybe it was a Johnny Cash thing or something like that.
Nope.
Yeah, all right. What do you enjoy spending money on?
Anything that involves time with my daughters and my wife.
Good answer. Kind of a cop out, but good answer. I love it. All right. Ninth question. I've gotten a little bit of a theme of this question at the end for everyone, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different term.
Okay.
Who is on your Mount Rushmore of frontmen / frontwomen for bands? 4 people, best of the best.
Ooh. So they have to be alive?
No. Nope.
All right. So I guess in the secular space, if you will, as we say, I would say Sting is up there, as one of the best. Bono for vocals, Sting for vocals, but Sting's also a great musician. They both write great music. Yeah, and there's there's some great bands in the faith space as well. Mercy Me is a big, I'm a big fan of Mercy Me. Their frontman, Bart Millard, I think is his name.
One more.
I'll go with a female. Natalie Grant is where my daughter goes to church in Nashville. We get to see Natalie Grant a lot, and she's just amazing. She's awesome.
Cool.
Vocally, just incredible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Love it. You survived.
Survived. Those 9 questions are rough, man.
Some of them are rough. Some of them made you squirm a little bit, and I liked watching
so indecisive.
Yeah. One of the things I feel getting to know you doing this, because we even said this at the beginning, like it's been forever since we even talked, like you and I perceived you as being a pretty introverted, quiet individual. But yeah, you hear about all these things that like you do with the theater and being a big part of the church and production and all that other stuff. Am I close with that, or was I just off on the, or do you just are you almost like an ambivert to where you're like, you might be perceived as an introvert, but really at the end of the day, it does fill you up to be in front of people?
Well, it's interesting. I think you're probably one of the first people to ever say that you thought I was an introvert, which is great. I don't mind that at all. Lots of times I'm pegged as, more sanguine and out there and like, and really I think, especially as I get older and older, I like my introverted time. I like my time away. I like my time to think. Long drives are fun for me. Just getting time to think, getting time to listen to some podcasts, getting time to just kind of contemplate, what's going on. But I probably tend to be more extroverted than introverted. Like I do get my energy off of people, I think.
Yeah. I just want to throw that out there.
But I love that you thought that.
I'm just going by what my perception was, right? And I thought I'd shoot you straight on it. So I had it as like, I wanted to make sure that I just flat out said that because that was my perception. But, I think again, like I said this at the beginning, is like one of my absolute favorite things about doing this is like sharing your story and getting people to know who you are. I don't doubt for a hot second people are going to want to hear more about it at one-on-one. So how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? All the while knowing we're going to share, your LinkedIn profile in our show notes and your website for Bionic Giant. But how else, other ways people can get a hold of you and get to know more about you?
Yeah, I mean they can reach directly out to my email. It's Joe at bionicgiant.com. Is it okay to give a phone number? I guess I'll
you do whatever you want. Heck yeah, man.
This might be a little dangerous, but 612-401-2357. That's my cell. Feel free to text me. If you text me something weird and obscure, I'm going to delete it.
Block the hell out of it. Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
You'll be blocked forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I'll tell you, you're buddies with Eric Norman, and Eric's been on the show. He's on our team. We probably talk more about you than you and I talk, but well, here's what I'll say is like the thoughtfulness that you bring to your group. And, every time I talk to somebody from your group, your name always pops up. That always tells me like, one, you're an awesome contributor. And then two, you're obviously having a positive effect on people's lives. But in building this community, it's guys like you that are really going to make this work. I, first of all, just want to say thanks for taking a chance on us/me in
you're
doing
welcome.
this.
Thank you.
This to me is a gift to be able to share your story and then selfishly learn more about you. So just thanks a lot for investing some time into doing this. Thanks for sharing your story, and just thanks for just being so transparent and just a good dude.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for the opportunity, like I said. So and C9 is great. I mean, I want to, we got to get together because I want to hear the backstory of how that started and kind of where you see it going. I love it.
Well, then let's figure that out. Because I was driving by, I was in Edina going to drop off some things at my promotional products company. And I drove by and I'm like, there's Bionic Giant. Like literally it was like pretty predominant, nice sign and stuff like that too. Yeah. So finally, for the first, I knew that you were in Edina and I knew you were in that industrial park, but I didn't really know exactly where you were. So I drive by there all the time. So let's just figure a time so I can come see your sweet,
absolutely.
Your sweet setup.
Yeah, Wooden Hill's right across the street too. Great food, great beer, whatever, coffee, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, man.
Do you do you use Marty? Is Marty your?
No, I use Dunn and Semmington. They are a great little promo company. Pete Semmington. Giving him some free airplay here. Great little spot about a block and a half from your place.
Awesome. Well, come on over. I'll follow up with you. Let's do that.
All right. Let's do that for sure. All right. On behalf of Joe, this has been the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.